In 2024, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration recorded more automotive recall notices than any year in the previous decade. Not because cars are being caught faster, because the defects are getting worse. We are going to expose the factory system destroying the modern automobile and show you the only 3 types of vehicles you should actually buy with your money. If you have walked onto a dealership lot recently, you might believe you are looking at a competitive marketplace. You see names like Chevrolet, GMC, Buick, and Cadillac. You see Ford and Lincoln. You see Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. And you assume these are different companies, different engineers, different philosophies competing to build you a better vehicle. That is an illusion. The reality is that 3 corporate conglomerates, General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, control the majority of American automotive retail. And each of them has spent the last 15 years making the same calculation. The buyer will not notice the substitution until the warranty expires. What replaced independent engineering culture is a system called platform consolidation. The same underbody, the same engine family, the same electronically controlled transmission is stuffed into vehicles carrying completely different nameplates and sold at completely different price points. A Chevrolet Silverado and a GMC Sierra are the same truck with different badges and a $5,000 price gap. A Jeep Grand Cherokee and a Dodge Durango share the same platform. A Lincoln Navigator and a Ford Expedition are identical below the belt line. The nameplate is a marketing decision. The engineering is shared. And when that shared platform has a defect, every vehicle built on it carries that defect, regardless of what badge is on the hood. The problem starts on the factory floor with a compensation system called throughput rate manufacturing. In the era of American automotive dominance, assembly line workers were paid by the hour and supervised by quality control inspectors whose entire job was to stop bad vehicles from leaving the plant. That model encouraged slowness when slowness was needed. It cost more per unit. It produced fewer defects. Today, the metric that drives every decision on the floor is units per shift. The plant manager's bonus is tied to it. The line supervisor's performance review is built around it. If the line stops, money stops. If a worker flags a defect and pulls the stop cord, the entire downstream of the assembly sequence is disrupted, and the shift quota takes a hit. This creates a system where flagging a problem is a career risk, and ignoring it is the path of least resistance. That leads directly to what technicians find every single day: improperly torqued suspension components, coolant lines routed against sharp frame edges that vibrate through them over 3 years, and electrical harnesses bundled with the wrong gauge wire for the load they are carrying, timed to fail precisely 18 months after the powertrain warranty expires. This is not sloppy workmanship. This is the business plan. But the labor incentive is only half the problem. The materials themselves have been engineered to fail on a schedule. The most fatal engineering decision in the modern American vehicle is the adoption of the turbocharged direct injection engine as the default powertrain across almost every mainstream model line. On paper, these engines are impressive. Small displacement, high output, excellent fuel economy numbers on the EPA window sticker. The problem is that direct injection, a system where fuel is sprayed directly into the combustion chamber rather than into the intake port, produces a condition called carbon buildup on the intake valves. In a port-injected engine, fuel washing over the intake valve keeps it clean. In a direct injection engine, nothing washes the valve. Carbon deposits accumulate. After 40,000 to 60,000 miles, airflow is restricted enough that the engine begins to misfire, lose power, and consume oil at a rate the engineers documented in their own internal testing and chose not to disclose on the EPA window sticker. The walnut blasting service to clean those valves costs between $400 and $800 depending on the engine. It is not covered under warranty because carbon buildup is classified as a maintenance item, not a defect. The manufacturer knew this would happen before they put the engine in production. They sold you the EPA fuel economy numbers that the engine achieves before the buildup begins, and they said nothing about what it costs to maintain those numbers after the buildup arrives. When the direct injection engine is also turbocharged, which it is in virtually every mainstream model sold since 2018, you add a second failure point. Turbochargers run at temperatures that cook the oil sitting in the oil feed lines every time you shut the engine off. This phenomenon, called heat soak, breaks down the oil into carbon deposits that accumulate inside the turbocharger housing. After 5 to 7 years, the turbocharger bearing fails. Replacement cost is $1,500 to $3,000. Warranty coverage is zero because the failure occurs well past the powertrain coverage window and is classified as a wear item by the same legal team that wrote the warranty. Your $35,000 vehicle is a machine with 2 documented failure points, both of which the manufacturer knew about before production, both of which fall outside warranty coverage by design. You might think the dealer certified pre-owned program or the extended warranty will protect you from these costs. It will not. When you purchase an extended warranty, whether from the manufacturer or a third-party administrator, you are entering a coverage structure that was designed by attorneys whose job was to minimize payout exposure, not protect your investment. Every claim you file is reviewed against a list of excluded failure modes that runs to dozens of pages in the fine print. Carbon buildup on intake valves is excluded as a maintenance item. Turbocharger failure due to oil coking is excluded as wear. Transmission shudder caused by a documented software calibration defect is covered only if you can prove the dealer failed to perform a specific reflash within a specific service window that was never communicated to you. The manufacturer's legal team spent years constructing an exclusion architecture specifically around the failure modes their engineering team identified in pre-production testing. They knew the failure points. They built the warranty around them. You paid for coverage that was designed to cover everything except the things most likely to break. Meanwhile, you are still making the monthly payment on a vehicle, sitting at the dealership, waiting for a back-ordered part that the service advisor told you would arrive in 6 to 8 weeks. That was 4 months ago. You have to stop shopping like a consumer and start thinking like an auditor. The badge on the grill is worth less than the engineering underneath it. So what should you actually buy? Here is the ranking. Number 3. Any current generation Japanese domestic market vehicle, specifically Toyota, Honda, or Subaru, in a naturally aspirated configuration. If the model you are considering is available with a non-turbocharged engine option, buy that option. Pay the fuel economy penalty. The naturally aspirated Toyota 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine is the same basic architecture that has been running in Camrys and RAV4s for 15 years. The carbon buildup problem still exists, but it is manageable. The turbocharger failure point does not exist at all. You are buying the slower, less impressive version of the vehicle on paper, and the more reliable version in practice. Number 2. Pre-2018 domestic vehicles from the last era of wide-scale port injection engines. Ford's naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6 from 2011 to 2017 F-150. The GM 5.3-liter V8 in any configuration before the active fuel management system was introduced in 2019, a system that deactivates cylinders to save fuel and destroys lifters at 80,000 miles on a documented pattern failure. The Chrysler 5.7-liter Hemi before the multi-displacement system became standard. These are the last generation of American engines designed to run 200,000 miles without a major intervention. They are not fuel efficient by modern standards. They will not win a comparison test in a magazine. The bones are built the way bones used to be built. Number 1. The best kept secret in the value vehicle market is the Japanese domestic market import. The same 25-year import rule that the overland community uses for Toyota camper vans applies to every vehicle category. Right-hand drive, Nissan Skylines, Toyota Land Cruisers, and Honda Step W-Gens with 40,000 original miles are entering the legal import window right now. These vehicles were maintained under Japan's Shaken Inspection System, a government program so rigorous that vehicles are often sold with low mileage simply because owners cannot justify the inspection cost as the vehicle ages. A 1999 Toyota Land Cruiser 80 Series with a 4.2-liter inline 6 diesel engine, an engine designed for commercial truck service and rated for 500,000 miles between major overhauls, can be imported and titled for $25,000 to $40,000. That same vehicle new today in American trim would cost $90,000 and would be built on a platform shared with a Lexus LX and powered by a twin, turbocharged V6 that requires premium fuel and a $2,200 turbocharger service at year 7. You are not buying an old car. You are buying a machine that is already depreciated fully, was maintained to a government standard that does not exist in the United States, and carries a drivetrain architecture so overbuilt for its application that 25 years of use barely registers on the wear curve. The era of the honest American automobile is over, and the manufacturers are banking on you not knowing the difference between an EPA fuel economy number and a real-world ownership cost. They are counting on you to be distracted by the touchscreen, the ambient lighting, and the 0 to 60 time, so you do not notice the turbocharged direct injection engine accumulating carbon deposits behind the intake valves at mile 40,000. Do not let General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis convert your transportation budget into a subscription to their service department. Check the injection system, check the forced induction, and never underestimate the value of an engine that was overbuilt for its application in 1999 and has been proving it ever since. The badge is a marketing decision. The engineering is what you are actually buying.